Conservatism. Conservatism. As the name implies, conservatism seeks to preserve traditional values within Western society. Conservatives typically support the nuclear family, institutional religion, a strong military, and the protection of property rights. Liberalism. Liberalism is often described as the most influential ideology in modern history, as it emphasizes that every individual has personal rights, that government authority should be based on the approval of the people, and that all citizens must be treated equally before the law. It also supports free markets, competitive elections among multiple political parties, the division of power among different branches of government, the separation of religion from the state, and a core set of principles written into the Constitution, including the right to privacy, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, and freedom of religion. Moderatism. Moderatism tends to remain within what is known as the Overton window, which represents the range of political ideas considered acceptable by the general public. In most situations, moderates are often apolitical, meaning they are not deeply engaged in politics, though they usually possess a basic level of political awareness. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system built on the private ownership of the means of production and their use for generating profit. Its core features include private property, voluntary exchange, market competition, the division of labor, and social cooperation. Socialism. There are many forms of socialism, which makes it an umbrella term in the classical sense. Socialism refers to systems where the means of production are owned by workers, with strong support for worker movements, democratic self-management, and workplace democracy. In the modern era, socialism promotes workers' democratic self-management, higher taxes on the wealthy, and the nationalization of key sectors of industry. One of its core values is social ownership. Syndicalism. Syndicalism is often described as a branch of socialism. It holds that organizing workers into unions, forming local and decentralized revolutionary worker groups known as syndicates, and pushing workers' demands through strikes and direct action are the most effective ways to build a socialist society. After a post-capitalist society is established, a congress or commune made up of syndicates would be formed to represent the various unions or sectors of the economy, taking on the role of a central governing body. Corporatism. Corporatism supports the structuring of society into distinct sectors of employment such as agriculture, military, engineering, and so on, where individuals are placed according to their interests and abilities. It emphasizes a cross-class framework of coordination in which workers, employers, and the state interact to manage the economy as efficiently as possible while aiming to meet the needs of all parties involved. It does not imply a political system controlled by large business interests, which would instead be called a corporatocracy. Libertarianism. Libertarianism considers liberty a fundamental value and aims to maximize individual autonomy and political freedom. It favors a very limited government and shares the core principles of liberalism, such as equality before the law and the basic rights to life, liberty, and property. Separatism. Separatism, also commonly referred to as secessionism, aims to create a nation, independent country, sovereign state, or governing authority that is separate from an already existing nation. Communism. Communism is based on the collective ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Goods and resources are allocated to members of society according to need. In a communist society, there is no private property, no social classes, no money, and no state. Feminism. Feminism seeks to define and achieve political, economic, personal, and social equality between the sexes. It holds that many societies prioritize a male perspective, and that women are treated unfairly as a result. Efforts to address this focus on challenging gender stereotypes and expanding educational and professional opportunities for women. Anarchism. Anarchism is an ideology that promotes a society without rulers or established authority, placing a strong emphasis on freedom. It calls for the abolition of the state and its replacement with stateless communities based on voluntary cooperation and freely formed associations. Environmentalism. Environmentalism, sometimes referred to as green politics, is a broad term that encompasses a range of ideologies united by the belief that nature should play a major role in shaping public policy. This includes efforts such as increasing recycling, reducing CO2 emissions, and preventing water pollution, among others. Populism. Populism focuses on appealing to a large number of people and their sensibilities, believing that what the masses want should be what the masses receive. It can take many forms, as its only requirement is that it represents a movement by the people and for the people. This leads it to have no clear political affiliation. It is often associated with democracies due to its reliance on popular support. It often separates the people from the elite and is frequently anti-establishment and anti-politics. Republicanism. Republicanism is an ideology centered on a form of government that is non-hereditary and opposed to monarchism. It places political power in the hands of citizens within a state organized as a republic. Progressivism. Progressivism holds that heritage coming from the past should not be treated as sacred and should instead be considered less important than social progress. It is essentially the opposite of conservatism. Imperialism. Imperialism is the belief that a country should expand its power or influence, often through military force. It was once widely accepted and even considered a moderate position, but its popularity has declined over time. Imperialism is known for supporting war and for the idea that stronger nations should dominate weaker ones. It commonly defends itself against accusations of oppression by claiming that colonized populations benefit, arguing that wealthier nations assist them and provide advantages they would not normally have. Egalitarianism. Egalitarianism is a school of thought built around the idea of social equality, placing it as a priority for all people. Accordingly, all citizens within a state should receive equal rights and equal treatment under the law. Transhumanism. Transhumanism is the belief that people should enhance themselves through technology in order to overcome both basic and complex human limitations. Its ultimate goal is for humanity to achieve immortality and attain highly advanced mental and physical capabilities. Communitarianism. Communitarianism is an ideology that emphasizes the well-being and importance of the community as the primary social unit. It often stresses the idea that the traditional left-right political divide limits progress, arguing instead that policies from both sides can be complementary and necessary to serve the community. It also holds that extreme individualism can be harmful when it conflicts with the common good. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism is a form of government marked by strong, usually centralized power that demands obedience to authority and restricts political and civil freedoms. Many traditional monarchies are examples of authoritarianism. In an authoritarian state, the ruler often imprisons and persecutes political opponents. Fascism. Fascism holds that people are weak and divided on their own, but become strong when united under a single banner, whether that banner represents the state, the nation, the army, or a similar authority. It is authoritarian in nature, meaning it is defined by a controlling government that rejects the idea of citizens choosing between multiple political parties. It relies on strong, centralized power, often embodied in a dictator, and therefore opposes the separation of powers. Fascism is also ultra-nationalist, believing that a nation should prioritize its own interest without regard for the rights of other nations. Ultra-nationalism commonly exists alongside militarism, the belief that a nation should maintain a powerful military to advance its national interest and values. Fascism suppresses opposition through forceful means, supports the idea of a natural social hierarchy, and promotes the sacrifice of individual interest for what is seen as the good of the nation or race. Nazism. Nazism is a form of fascism that places strong emphasis on a racist ideology, claiming the superiority of the Aryan race. It holds that the Aryan race should rule over the rest of the world in order to improve it, making Nazism an ultra-nationalist ideology. According to Nazi beliefs, to be classified as Aryan, a person had to be white, heterosexual, mentally and physically fit, brave, and non-Jewish. Those considered non-Aryan were labeled Untermensch, meaning subhuman. Nazism also promoted eugenics, a set of beliefs and practices aimed at improving the genetic quality of a population. As a result, people with inherited illnesses were viewed as useless eaters and were killed or sent to camps, as they were considered lives unworthy of life. Nazism also persecuted homosexuals, viewing them as unfit as well. I'll be making similar videos, subscribe to see them.